Obviously, he was a favorite of Sheldon Keefe. I'm a big Calle Jarnkrok guy. I know he got ripped, Rosie, quite a bit in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Just sheer speculation on my part. I don't think he was anywhere close to healthy. And I think when healthy, this guy can be a big-time factor for this team.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, yet to be seen. His production last year was half of what it was the year before, albeit he didn't play as many games. At 32 years old, are you getting substantially better and better every day? Maybe, probably not. But he's one of those guys that can play in the top six and maybe in the bottom six. But as I look at the top and the bottom six, I think where are some holes and where could a winning team use some help? And I look at it and say, now there's a guy that could be a big factor in the bottom six, and that doesn't mean he's not going to be a big part of the team or any of that, but in the playoffs, and that's what we're talking about essentially, right? How are they going to get over that hump that they haven't been able to get over? And I see a guy like Calle Jarnkrok being a big factor in the bottom six in the sense that they can score the goals and take the pressure off the big boys. If they're not, you can't lean on them all the time. He can get some chemistry with a guy that is in the bottom six. And I think that he needs to maybe work on his physicality a little bit, some forechecking, adopt Craig Berube's system wholeheartedly, be a leader for the bottom six type of guys, set the tone as far as this is what this role entails, and really adopt that in, not the latter part of his career, but he's not 26, he's 32, right? So there is a difference there. And it's not to say that he can't hook up with one of the big boys and play on the second line and have tons of success. He is capable of that. But if you're leaning on him that hard to do that and putting all your eggs in that basket, I think you're going to have points in the season, and maybe the biggest part of the season, where you're going to be disappointed. So when I look at the forwards, I could see him being in the bottom six and being a factor if he so chooses to adopt that role wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I would say prototypical swing guy. And again, it's important to stress, like, Sheldon Keefe is out. He was a big fan favorite. He was a big favorite, obviously, of Sheldon Keefe, and that's why I wonder where he's going to be deployed in that lineup. To me, I think it makes the most sense to be in a third line checking role, but can he check is the big question. Not really a physical guy, but don't forget too, like, Craig Berube, if there's one thing you should know about him, he loves depth up and down his lineup. So I wouldn't discount Calle Jarnkrok in the playoffs playing on the fourth line. Like, people would laugh right now, but I think a winning team has that type of player on the fourth line, because the one thing you want to do is stretch teams out in the playoffs. And I do think Calle Jarnkrok can bring more to the table than he did, say, in the second half of the season. I think he's like the perfect swing guy, but I'm looking for a bounce back year for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the story at the end of this year, if, say, the Leafs get to the Eastern Conference Finals or something, it would be like a Calle Jarnkrok on the fourth line and having that depth and churning out the lines and having the coach on the other side just like pulling his hair out trying to match lines when they're in their barn and not really having an answer for the depth. And that's wishful thinking, and we're crossing our fingers that could be a thing, but when you look at it, you're going to need stuff like that. And I don't know if we're thin enough where we're going to need him elsewhere up higher in the lineup. But again, I mean, we've talked about it before that these forwards, when you look at it, isn't the most appealing thing in the world. We got our superstars and they have expectations, and, some of them have faced criticism, some of them maybe not as much, but it is what it is right now, and you've got your money here and there's not enough money to go around elsewhere. So people need to step up in roles, and we'll see what transpires after training camp and the preseason, who makes the team, where they fit. Easton Cowan's playing a factor in that, and where Calle Jarnkrok fits, I'm not sure. He can play both sides of the table, but at the end of the day, I would like, if things went well on the top six, that he could fit in the bottom six and really bolster it.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.